So I think people forget, like, this is the point. They are trying to harm people. They're trying to create scarcity. They're trying to create pain. You're watching Political Pain, so I know a thing or two about this. This is how the right wing in this country operates, you know, and they have nothing but disdain for working people, and it's terrible. I don't know what else to say or how. I You might be like me. You might do doom scroll every night and just see the horrors of ICE attacks on people, and um, all the different ways that our society is eroding and crumbling, and the rich keep getting richer. Elon Musk just got $1 trillion deal from Tesla. He's going to be the world's first trillionaire, as if that's anything we need. And it's dystopian. I call it a right-wing tech dystopia, because now this technology that was supposed to set us free, has created the most powerful mass surveillance weapons in world history. And I do think a lot of this is by design. There's a reason why the genocide in Gaza was, they just showed it to us. I mean, they had the ability, I do believe, to block a lot of stuff online, and they have. But I think there's a strong part of it that where they're okay with people seeing what's going on, because they want people to know and to stay in line. That if this is the way things go. And for too long, we've had politicians who are okay with that, not just in the Republican Party, but in the Democratic Party as well. We've had politicians in the United States. Let's transition to the election news. But before we get to that, we have some wonderful news. Ding dong. Nancy Pelosi, of all people, is retiring. She's finally going to let power out of the clutch of her fist. For some people, Nancy Pelosi is a hero of progressive politics. If this is your idea of a progressive, you need to raise your expectations a little bit. You need to adjust your ideas. I mean, she's a millionaire, many times over, has used her office to line her pockets through investments. They're literally day traders. I don't know if you guys know this, but they're literally day traders who just trade the way Nancy Pelosi does. Because Nancy Pelosi is the type of politician, and there are lots of them in Congress, don't get me wrong, who will leave a closed hearing on economic matters or security matters, national security, and go move a bunch of investments around, because she knows what news is going to come out and what the market will do. Nancy Pelosi, is from our state of California, my state. I assume most of y'all in the chat are here. Please say hello in the chat. Give me a comment. Let me know what you're thinking about this. I will share it on screen. I will respond to it. Let's have the discussion here. But Nancy Pelosi's been in Congress since before I was born. She's part of the political generation of Democrats who served under the right-wing realignment of the country by Ronald Reagan, and they have basically played to the center, tacked to the right, and been a centrist, pro-corporatist party for generations now. And part of why we are where we are as a country and the mess that we're in is because of this. Is because of, for so long, we've had Democrats that were basically Republican light. And the only thing you had to do to be progressive was look different than, a white guy in a tie, right? Like Nancy Pelosi, she was a groundbreaker as far as a woman in Congress. But she's still been a servant to corporations, a servant to corporate landlords. She is herself, has massive holdings of real estate. And she attacked the new left progressives that entered Congress, had nothing but disdain for AOC and Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib. Like these few rays of hope in this dystopian corporatist nightmare that we live in with the only party. If you're anywhere on the left, I know plenty of left wing people. They will never vote for the Democrats. They just won't vote, and that's fine. But I do think voting has some utility. And we can talk about some of these changes that are happening, but I just think it's important to take note that Nancy Pelosi is leaving. She held on to power for so long. At least she learned the lesson. So she learned a lesson from Dianne Feinstein. She doesn't want to die in office. She learned a lesson from Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who died in office, wouldn't retire when Obama had the Senate and the presidency. And so therefore handed a conservative majority over to Trump and kind of ruined our lives, all of our lives. The decisions of very few people for vanity and just this need. We call it the gerontocracy, right? Geriatrics just holding on to power. Joe Biden said he would only run for one term. So Nancy Pelosi is leaving. I think it's a good thing that she's leaving. I think you should encourage more and more Democratic politicians who are aged, and not just aged, in their bodies and minds, but aged in their policies, aged in their politics. We need better politics. I wish I could, get in a DeLorean, a time machine, and go back to 40 years ago and get a 40 years younger Bernie Sanders, or have a rejuvenation serum and young up Bernie Sanders and have him run again. But that's just ain't the way it's going to be.